confirm or deny Scott Lawton will be on the Maple Leafs roster after the March 6th trade deadline?
Ooh, I'm going to have to deny that, Mark. I really think that, look, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they approach this, right? Like, if they come back from the Olympic break and they say, hey, we got a chance here. We're going to go for it. We believe that we can make a run to the playoffs with this team. We've had bad injury luck. We've had, goalie drama that now is hopefully sorted out. We believe that this team could make the run that it needs to make and get into the playoffs. We're not selling. I think that would be a big mistake, right? I think that would be a massive mistake because their chances of making it, there is a chance, probably in the single-digit percentages right now. And they got to recoup some assets here. They got to do that sort of soft reboot, if not a rebuild. And you may not get back the first-round pick that you sent out the door to get Scott Lawton, but you got to get something close.
Yeah.
Maybe a second-round pick because he's not getting any younger. I'm not sure how you believe that, re-signing him is going to take you anywhere you want to go when, he's, not exactly what they need right now. They need to get younger. They got to, what's happened this year? They've shown that they're not that fast. They are getting older and they need to think about, a younger generation of player here to go along with Easton Cowan, some contemporaries of Easton Cowan to show that they've got a next wave. So I'm gonna deny it and say they got to make that move.
I agree with all the things that you mentioned. And out of the Scott Lawton, Brandon Carlo, let's recoup what we lost for those two players, you're probably getting more for Lawton at the moment than Carlo, because Scott Lawton, after a really slow start, has been much better and plays in a bunch of different situations. And by all accounts, it's been a difficult year for Carlo. It's been a difficult year for pretty much everyone on the blue line, and it's not necessarily just his fault. I will confirm it only for this. I can see this Leafs team, because it is a very Leafy thing to do, to say win tonight, come back from the Olympic break, recharge with some of those guys, go on a bit of a run, and be like a point out at the deadline, and for this organization to go, well, there's a lot of value in getting in there. And I really believe that they think that they have a team that, while it's not constructed to say win the division, is constructed to have more success in the playoffs than previous teams. Yeah. We can argue that for sure.
Well, that was the narrative at the top of the season, right?
Right? And it's almost we got to give it a chance. We got to give, we remade things. We're not the soft team that needs time and space to make all these skillful plays. We can be a little bit more like the grinding team that wins a 3-2 playoff game, and you wonder how are they better in the playoffs, and but they squeaked in and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not saying I disagree with it, that they should do that, but I have this feeling that somehow he's going to be on this roster post-deadline. Let's switch to basketball. There's a lot of rumors with the Raptors attached to, we mentioned Giannis Antetokounmpo, but also maybe even more seriously, Domantas Sabonis of the Sacramento Kings. The Raptors should acquire an all-star caliber player before the deadline.
Well, if you're in the category of wishful thinking, sure, I'll confirm that. They should if they can. I mean, to me, this is a moment of opportunity. Mm-hmm. I look at the Eastern Conference and I say, hey, this is a league where there have been 7 different champions the last 7 years. This is a league where the Indiana Pacers were the NBA Finals representative of the Eastern Conference a year ago. And I'm looking at my team with the Raptors and I'm saying, we're 4th in the East. Why can't we be the new Pacers? Why can't we be the team that wins this conference in a year where everything is so wide open and we're one move away? We've got an all-star in Scotty Barnes. We've got a guy who's a near all-star in Brandon Ingram. If we could make a move to acquire a guy, obviously a Giannis is groundbreaking and league changing. Of course, you'd want to do that if you could for a reasonable price. But if you could, look, Sabonis is one that could make sense. I mean, getting rid of Pirtle obviously would be part of that because, Sabonis has some weaknesses and you don't need 2 guys with weaknesses as 7-footers who don't really protect the rim. But, I would confirm it if there's a scenario that makes sense. Do I think it's going to happen? No.
I think they should. I think it's funny, you take a look at the landscape of the NHL, and how much more difficult it is in the East than the West. Where look at tonight's matchup, where I think the Leafs are 2 points behind the Oilers, and the Oilers are tied for first in their division, and the Leafs are 12th in the conference.
Yeah.
It's the opposite in the NBA, where if you're in the Western Conference, you're saying to yourself, what are we doing this for? A play-in, or maybe to be, maybe to get into the first round, and then we'll get smoked by Oklahoma or Denver, whoever you're going to play. In the East, you've pointed out to a lot of teams who have had success against the Raptors, and for various reasons, size, rim protection, all those things. We'll go and address that. And the Raptors, as much as any organization, needs to prioritize trades because that's how they get talent. You look at the history of this organization, how have they gotten some of their best players? It's either drafting them or trading for them. They're not a free agent destination. They did it with Brandon Ingram a year ago. If the opportunity is there, which is the key word that you brought up, whether it's Giannis or Sabonis or someone else that has shown over their career that they're consistently in that kind of all-star mix, you got to go do it.
Yeah.
Because who scares you in this conference?
That's the thing.
Right? It doesn't necessarily mean you have to win the conference, but you can win a playoff series. You can win two playoff series.
Look, I think...
in Indiana, great example.
They could win a playoff series probably as constructed. At least they think they can. But yeah, I'm with you. This is a moment where you seriously have to think about throwing a few more chips in and taking a gamble.
Let's stay with the NBA. LeBron James found it interesting that he described this season similar to his last season in Cleveland in 2018. I don't know if that says. LeBron James will finish his career as a Cleveland Cavalier. Are you confirming or denying that?
You know what? This is an interesting one. Figuring out how LeBron James is going to navigate his career is always been a difficult process. And if I had to bet, I would probably deny it. I think he's been there. He's delivered the championship. It's home. And there's, if he's going to spend more time playing in the NBA, it doesn't feel like he's going to be back with the LA Lakers next year.
No.
Maybe he'll look for a different scenario. Like he tried Miami. He's been in LA. He's been in Cleveland twice. Maybe he would look for a different chapter. I think, he seems to be the guy that's very obsessed with his legacy. He seems to be a guy that really likes the narrative to sort of have the dramatic effect he wants to have. He wants it to have. I'm not sure finishing in Cleveland is really going to be that great for him. I think maybe he would go somewhere else. I mean, I don't have a great feel for it, but I'm going to deny it.
Well, and the question is, what's important to LeBron at this stage? Like, we knew what was important to him when he went to the Lakers. It was to be out in LA. It was the family aspect. He obviously got Bronny onto the Lakers. Bronny was playing university ball, just down the street at USC. Is it to close the gap on Jordan in terms of titles? Is it, I can't imagine it's any kind of individual milestone. But I think Cleveland doesn't scream, we're LeBron James away from winning the title, as much as they were the 1 seed last year. They're a really good team. They've struggled this year, and it's tough to know kind of which direction they're going in because they're on the verge of maybe acquiring James Harden for Darius Garland, and it's unfortunate because Garland's been hurt, and on face, if all things are equal and they're healthy, I would take Garland over Harden at these stages of their career.
Yes.
So, I'll deny it only because there's just a greater possibility that it's somewhere else or retiring. I don't know.
Yeah, there's always that possibility. I mean, he hasn't looked great this year.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't been as kind of awe-inspiring as he's been in the past.
Yeah.
And the age is starting to show a little more than it has, and you wonder, what's the motivation now? You're really you're not going to catch Jordan in terms of titles, and what are you playing for?
Mm-hmm. Lots of news yesterday about the statue that's going to go outside the Dome, which is Joe Carter, celebrating that back-to-back World Series era of the Blue Jays. Confirm or deny, Kyle Lowry should be the next Toronto athlete to get a statue in the city?
That's a good one. We've had this discussion about how the Raptors should commemorate their championship in 2019. And obviously the big moment was in the second round of that playoff series. Like, the most dramatic moment in the history of the Raptors is a statue in a lot of ways. It's a beautiful piece of photographic art. I don't know if you've been to Terminal 2 of the airport, Terminal 3, I guess it is, of the airport, where they've got a huge wall of that photo.
Oh, really?
Of Kawhi
crouched
in the corner by the Raptors bench, and you can see all the people in the crowd and all the people on the bench all watching that ball do its 4 bounces into the rim. That to me is the statue from that team. Like that to me would be the statue from that team. Of course, nobody likes Kawhi, and Kawhi doesn't like anybody. And, he was a one and done, like incredible contributor, star player. Hadn't seen anything like him. It's the greatest performance in the history of Toronto sports in a lot of ways, but there's no connection to Kawhi outside of that, right? Yeah. So do you give Kawhi the statue, even though Kawhi was just a one and done, absolute, flash? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like, to me, Kyle Lowry, I would deny it. I wouldn't give Kyle Lowry a statue. Like, you're going to retire his number, but I'm not sure you want to start just throwing up statues for guys whose number you retired. Like, you retired Vince Carter's number. You damn sure shouldn't be giving him a statue.
No.
I don't know how they're going to do it. The Leafs have 14 statues, right?
Right.
So, what are the franchise's standards? They retired a guy who quit on the franchise. They retired the number of a guy who quit on the franchise last year. I don't know where they're coming from. I guess we'll find out, because I do think something will be coming down the pipeline for Kyle Lowry very shortly. Whether it's in bronze is a good question. I wouldn't do it until I figure out what my franchise standards are and why I'm putting up statues.
I have a hard time believing that it's anything outside of that 2019 team.
It can't be.
It's the biggest championship in this city.
And yet the first guy they retired is not on that championship team.
Right. So I guess the better question is not Kyle Lowry, but how do they memorialize that team? In a way, like, is it Kyle Lowry with Kawhi in some way, celebrating
the best of pals,
right? Or it's just like, or it's Kawhi crouching and next to him, it's Kyle hitting a shot. Like, I feel like they might kind of curtail around that to make sure that, and it's the easy way to go, I guess, in a way, or maybe it's I don't know, it's the whole team.
How about a big statue of Masai Ujiri, who, as Adam Silver, the commissioner, has called him the Messiah.
Yes.
Who brought the championship.
Well, you could put it right where he gave that infamous speech about the Brooklyn Nets.
That's right. F Brooklyn.
Right?
Maybe it's the F Brooklyn speech.
Right? He's
Maybe
got a
Tim
mic.
Tim Lewicki and Masai Ujiri.
Okay. Very quickly, I want to do one more. Sidney Crosby will have a bigger impact at the Olympics than Connor McDavid. Are you confirming or denying that?
Well, I don't want to disrespect Mr. Number 87. Captain Canada, but how can you not deny this? I mean, McDavid's at the top of his game. I mean, he's doing stuff that continues to amaze you on a regular basis. Like, Crosby's just as amazing in a lot of ways because, this is a guy who scored the golden goal in 2010.
Yeah.
16 years ago, and he's still relevant. He hasn't fallen off that much. Like, every time I watch him play, he's most of the time the best player on the ice, and he still does stuff that makes you go, wow. So, this is a tough comparison, right? Like, I don't think he's going to outshine. I don't think, anybody's going to outshine McDavid in this tournament. I think this is McDavid's moment. I think McDavid's been dying to be there. McDavid's been dying to shine, and I think he will. But that doesn't mean Crosby won't be a huge factor. I just don't think anybody's going to eclipse McDavid. I agree. I'm denying it as well. It doesn't mean that Sidney Crosby won't have a fantastic tournament. It could be a tournament all-star, but I think this is McDavid's time to really lead Canada, and maybe the Four Nations was a good appetizer for him to learn, because it didn't come easily for him. No. Kind of like it didn't come easily for Crosby in 2010, even though he scores the golden goal. Jonathan Toews was their best forward in that. You're
game.
Right.
And kind of getting the synergy with all those players and whether it's recency bias of reading that article or the way that McDavid's been playing over the last few months where he's really taken it to another level, I think that this is McDavid leading the charge with a bunch of other all-stars and future Hall of Famers as well. He doesn't have to do it all on his own. So I'm going to deny that as well.